Welcome to the Barker Podcast Collection.
I suck, you suck, I suck at Call of Duty.
Welcome to the Not Playing Podcast. My name's Rob Howard, and today I'm joined by
Marcus Hurley.
And
Well,
basically we've had the summer off. We haven't recorded for a while, but we just thought we'd go through some of the news that has occurred since then, and we'll talk about some games as well later that we've been playing, although I don't think we've been playing much. But yeah, we're going to leave with the first story, which is the announcement of Valve's Steam Deck, which is basically a handheld PC, kind of like a Switch, but much more powerful. It's got all like analog sticks. It's got the touch pads like the old Steam controller used to have, or does have, although you can't buy that anymore. So yeah, there's three models. There's 64GB one that starts at £349, and it goes up to the £569 version, which has a 512GB SSD, and it's one of those flash ones like the PCs have. It's coming out in December 2021, although you probably won't be able to get hold of one because it's sold out right through until the middle of next year.
I think my question is, what's it for?
I mean, it's the
handheld market, isn't it? Which is still a bit...
Is it the handheld travelling market? Because to me it feels like more... I understand it's like it works with the Microsoft streaming stuff, which makes it pretty cool. So it would totally appeal to teenagers in the bedroom style of thing. But the commuter, the streaming stuff's death. But I must have... Yeah, I mean, if it runs Steam games from the library and they're good for it, I kind of get that as well. I'm just sort of curious, because to me, if it can do like the NVIDIA streaming stuff, to me, I don't feel like it's going to have really the optimised punt, and I could be totally wrong, to play your PC games in the way you want your PC games. But I'm just kind of curious who the target consumer is, and I'm sure Rob is one because it's shiny new tech.
So,
but no, not at all. I haven't pre-ordered it.
No,
I don't
you've got
go
a posh
anywhere.
Gaming PC, and you don't leave the flat except to go to the pub, you're not playing games. Yeah.
To me, if I was them, I would make it work exactly the same way as the Switch does, with a dock.
Dockable.
So then you've got a handheld dockable PC without splashing out for a gaming one, so you can hop on.
Or at the very
least,
a dock that you can flick a mouse and keyboard to, or similar. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so you could turn your TV into a big monitor, and then you could take it out and about. And
you can connect this to an external monitor if you want.
Yeah.
You can even get rid of the Steam OS and put Windows on it. The thing is, the tech inside it is kind of really optimized to run the screen that it has, which I believe is it's only a 720p screen.
Oh,
so
they really are going for the Switch then.
Yeah, but on that basis, it's quite capable apparently of playing Witcher 3 with everything on.
Yeah.
And, any modern game now. My issue is that I personally don't have any use.
You don't have the use case, yeah.
Because I don't go anywhere.
I can see it for the traveller, for the commuter. It's the Switch, but a bit more... Not wanting to be derogatory to Nintendo, I have one myself, but a bit more grown up, frankly.
Well,
you can play...
the way I'm seeing it, though, if you've got a games console, it's not just the grown upness. If you've got if I had the Switch, but I could buy Steam games on there during the Steam sale.
You don't have the Nintendo tax.
That to me sounds amazing. You could buy PC games at PC prices.
Yeah, right.
They'll work on that, and you've got the benefits of the Switch, minus all the motion stuff, which is kind of unique anyway. I mean, that's the main Nintendo thing at the moment.
What was the RRP?
It's £349.
So not a million miles off of what the... Yeah.
That's the same price as the Switch. They've gone after the Switch. That's it.
That
cheapest
would work
model?
out at like £1 for every game that I would be able to play on it.
I'm starting to see the attraction, particularly if you're in a position where you can't just sit in front of a telly that you've monopolised to yourself. I mean, if I'm given the choice between a Switch and something like that, I'm starting to really see it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's
you
the
can just
thing,
hop
it's
on a
not
gaming
about-
session with like how many of your mates, because you think multiplayer on PC is always a lot more. So you're tapping into that infrastructure as well.
Ooh,
So
yeah,
you play
your
something like
for
Chivalry
FPS,
2, and
yeah.
you've got your handheld one, you've got 24 of your mates going in or whatever.
Yep.
We're older, so we'll see less point to it because we're set in our generational ways. But
Well, I quite
handheld
like
gaming,
Chivalry
I've seen
2.
on the side, has been massive. There's a reason why the 3DS existed for so long and stuff. And
Okay,
the
I
Vita
don't
only
see
I
just
think
that.
a lot of the
Starting to see
reason
that, yeah.
for I think for some people, like, mobile gaming doesn't necessarily mean going on a commute.
No.
It's just
No.
about being able
No, you're
to
right.
pick up, find that sort of instant little fix whenever they can find a
But
spare
also,
moment.
there's this LAN party vibe
Exactly,
going on
and
there.
they'll go around their mates. It's the old gaming thing that we enjoyed, where you picked up your memory card and your pad, and you went round your mates and played like video games and stuff. It's like that, but they're
God.
still enjoying it. They go around and they play locally in the park or around their mate's place.
Yeah.
And
All right, okay.
I
I'm
reckon,
starting to be.
it
I'm not going to
could
buy one.
potentially do well.
Yeah. I don't have the use
No.
case for one because I've got my gorgeous little gaming PC, and I'm actually going to an office for the first time since March 2020 in a week's time. But I'm probably going to read a book.
But that's
On the
just
way.
it. Gaming rigs are about $1,000 to $2,000 though, aren't they?
Yeah.
I went to
And
Brighton
it's-
this weekend, and I didn't even think about bringing my Switch. I just had the iPad there to use as a jukebox and watch a bit of telly on if there was a spare moment.
Actually, I've got
That's
a Surface
all I
Pro,
really-
and I might install Civilization 6 on that because it should just about handle it, and I think that will do me for a commute. But yeah, okay, I get it. I'm convinced. I now understand why it's interesting. The idea of LAN partying kind of vibe, when you're all sitting around with your mates playing a team-type game against other people. Yeah, that's pretty cool, actually.
Which
Although that's
especially-
going to absolutely smash the Wi-Fi.
Well, yeah, but I don't know. Going Costa. Oh. But I'm kind of feeling, though, it's also this kind of push because you're going to see a big swing, I reckon, back to the whole wanting to be more social with a lot of things, having
Yeah.
been kept apart for so long.
Social. I know the word. It's
Which you
I
won't
said
need a
it's-
Steam
yeah.
Deck for.
No, but I mean, like, that kind of gaming, like I said,
Pop
you've
over
got-
and game
you've
together.
got a Switch. The Switch does well for that reason. I mean, I go in the park, I see groups of kids sitting around, and they were like playing Switches and stuff like that, and Switch lights, and it's kind of
Yeah.
bonkers. Like, you almost think, oh, the adverts didn't lie by Nintendo. People do actually do this. I don't, but people actually do this. So I can
I'll be
see
honest,
why there
it's
would be
the
a
same
market.
with other adverts I've seen. I
Exactly.
saw a woman being towed on roller skates behind a pair of Dalmatians, for
Yeah.
example. Sorry,
I do-
that's a early 90s reference. That's,
No,
yeah, we'll
I
leave that.
don't follow that blue line either. But yeah, no. So I totally get why it exists. The only thing is whether the market will bite or not. But I can see
They
why
have.
because most parents won't
It's
allow.
sold out until the middle of
There you
next
go.
year.
Sold
So
out,
they
but
have-
unreleased. The question is it horribly flawed? If it's not, then we're good.
If it's
I think,
flawed, is it
but it's-
upgradable?
this
to
is
make it
Valve,
unflawed?
right? The trouble is, this is Valve, this is Steam, and they do some brave things, and they've had clear success, what with them being absolutely major, but at the same time, the Steam controller, which I thought was,
Yeah.
and the Steam box, and all of this great ideas, it's great that they've gone and tried another approach, but they fucked up the last two. What's to say this one's the right one? Let's find out.
They're going after the
They love-
company
they
that
love-
have been. They're going after the model, the gaming model of the company that's ignored the bigger ones and
Yeah.
gone for lower spec, a higher.
Valve like
reverse.
creating solutions for problems that don't exist.
Exactly.
Yeah. But this is basically the Steam box, but portable. They did Steam OS
Yeah.
for the Steam box, didn't they?
Exactly.
And they've taken this OS, and the Steam box just didn't quite push it,
No.
I think, because people realised if they were going to have a PC, they wanted to be able to do other things. But actually a portable unit where the OS is so streamlined that you can maximise your hard drive space, your memory space with a really slick OS, not be running thirsty old Windows 10. That I get. That I think has a better case. So let's see how this goes. Battery
Yeah,
life's
that is-
going to tank.
I think there's more going on than it just simply being like the form factor. They have thought about it in lots of ways. The only thing is,
Well, that's probably a
apparently
good thing.
There's SteamOS apparently has a way of running Windows games, but not all Windows games. And apparently some games like what's the stupid Battlegrounds? The
PUBG?
The
PUBG? Yeah.
PUBG, yeah. Apparently that's like some of those games have got like anti-piracy software that won't work. So to play that sort of stuff, you'll need to have like Windows booted or something.
Oh, fuck it. At the end of the day, you take the restriction. It doesn't work on that console. If you're that worried about specific games, it's probably not the one to have. This is a different bit of kit, I think.
Yeah,
but there we go. We'll see.
For me, it'd just be like how to get through your Steam backlog on the go kind of thing.
Well, the other point is, if the console takes off, for example, and PUBG was unavailable on it, there's a fair chance that there would actually be a case for the PUBG to look at their DRM and build it to allow for Steam OS. The point is, Steam OS is such a low use case; they won't give us the slightest of a damn.
No.
But let's say if everyone sells out and everyone wants to play PUBG for some unknown reason, then PUBG will put in a patch that will allow it.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Well, as long as it runs Fortnite, then that'll be fine. Most kids will be fine with it, and then it'll take off because Fortnite runs on everything. In fact, I looked at a slipper the other day, and it told me that it ran Fortnite. So,
you don't need to buy a new box to play Fortnite on the go.
Rob, that's not how the world works. Everyone buys new things for no reason whatsoever. Anyway, it's crazy.
I'm surprised I showed such restraint, to be honest. But I just thought,
too.
When am I going to use that?
It's only because you've got a perfectly good gaming
TV
PC.
and PlayStation 5, Rob.
Anyway, one bit of...
couple of questions. Moving on from that, Ratchet and Clank, did you finish it?
I did.
Because last we spoke, you were quite enjoying it. How was it?
I thought it was fine, but just like I didn't really feel invested in the story or anything, and found it very like surface.
7?
Very
8?
Yeah, something like that. There were a couple of moments, where those a lot of Sony games have that moment where you're like, whoa, fuck me, I've not done this before.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of moments like that where I was like, wow, and it was very slick. But by the end of it, I sort of had my strategy down, what weapons I wanted to use, and it was just like looking at fucking salad on the screen, just complete madness.
Let me guess. When the next one comes out, you will pick it up, but once it's on sale. Yeah?
Probably.
One of those. Not first out, but you'll play it, right?
Yeah, I mean, most of the reason I picked that up was because there was fuck all else on the PS5, and they were lauding...
And Insomniac.
The tech. Yeah, and it's Insomniac, and it was like something of a tech demo for the hardware, so...
I love the Ratchet and Clank games, right? So I would have picked it up if I'd got my PS5. But oil, nightmares, money.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's waiting here for you, mate, when you do finally get on board. I won't be flogging it on. Anyway, back to hardware, and one bit of hardware that I might be tempted to pick up is this fucking new Amiga.
The Amiga Mini.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have much experience with the Amiga, but that was
I
machine.
didn't have one, but friends of the family and some of our friends did. There's a particular group of friends we used to spend the odd half term with, at least once, maybe twice a year. We'd stay at them because my mum worked, and we'd be shipped over to stay with them for half terms. And their dad had access to. Well, he used to just turn up from work, and there was a bloke at work who just gave him pirate games. So he had the biggest games library on the Amiga 500. So it was Atari ST and an Amiga 500, one in each room, both with this massive pirate games library of everything. So whilst I didn't have one, I had these very concentrated experiences of the Amiga 500 and some very fond memories associated. I remember finding 3-player games like IK Plus, which was a little karate game, and you had 3 of you, because there were no mouse then, but you had 3 of you gathered around the keyboard, because you each had one had WSD, one had TFGH, and one had IJKL, and those were your buttons to fight and to move, and you had 3 of you working from one poxy little keyboard. And I've got some real nostalgia and fondness for the Amiga 500 and the inevitable Atari ST Mini.
I just remember a mate of mine in school, and he was really into all of these sort of games and stuff, and he brought in this fucking ring binder, and he was just like studying this ring binder, and I was like, "What's that?" He went, "Oh, it's got a new game, learning how to play it." And it was only F-117A Stealth Fighter, where you literally had to learn to fly a fucking plane. And I was just like, Jesus Christ. But then the other day he came in and he was playing Syndicate Wars and stuff. So, he mixed it up a bit. But Jesus, that was the first time I ever encountered the book. You had to read the tome. Otherwise, you just...
I remember that on some PC games, but God, that's the sort of game I wouldn't have touched with a barge pole, because it sounds like you have some effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, right, the Amiga had a curious little place in history, because you sort of had the consoles coming out, the 16-bit consoles, and then you had, like, PCs. And the Amiga kind of sat somewhere in the middle, because PCs back then, they'd only really... I think Amiga was around before the PCs had, like, good graphics cards.
Yeah, there were no graphics cards then, because it was around the Amstrad as well.
Yeah, so I think the Amiga managed to kind of capture a huge part of the market, because I think, at the end of the day, I think a lot of parents felt more comfortable about shelling out for something that their kids could do their homework on.
Oh, it's educational. There's an art there's an art package.
Yeah.
And...
but it was all on these 3.5 floppy disks, and I remember playing Monkey Island 2 on it, and it came on 12 of the fucking things.
Oh, but we had a PC. Yeah, Monkey Island 2. We had I think it was a 286 was the first processor. We had Monkey Island on, and that was a 12-disc job. I mean, Jesus Christ, you look back.
Back when they were called multimedia computers. IBM compatibles, that was it. They weren't called PCs. They were called IBM compatibles.
Yeah, so this thing is coming with 25 games loaded onto it, and it's also got the ability to sideload your own over USB with WHD load support, which I believe is just one of those websites
that's quite a rarity, because that's been one of the problems with most of the machines, is they're pre-canned sets of games and there's nothing outside of that. So that's quite interesting that the emulation will allow that.
Although, that's the thing. They've opened it up, whereas the Nintendo
probably because most of the games are outside of because Nintendo will actively pursue and sue, whereas most of the games for the Amiga 500 will probably be abandonware, and enthusiasts will go and hack them about so they can go on it. There's your difference.
Yeah, it's weird grey area of all three, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it got Alien Breed, Another World.
Another World's a
Dreams,
classic.
Simon the Sorcerer. That was quite a...
Oh my goodness, that was a Monkey Island-esque point-and-click job, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think the thing is, a lot of these are on PC anyway. And
most of those I played as early PC games.
So I'll probably go...
Come on, keep on with the list. I'm enjoying this.
Oh, right, okay. So there's ATR, All-Terrain Racing, Battle Chess, Cadaver.
Battle Chess? God, that was one of the first PC games we had. And what you could do was reconfigure the board so you had all queens and the opponent had all pawns. And as a sort of a 10-year-old, I thought that was the best way to do it. Because cheats, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how you win.
Oh, no. There's Kickoff 2.
Kickoff.
Worms, the director's cut.
Yeah. Worms was the original Worms,
It's got
memory. I'm pretty sure I've got about 8 versions of Worms already on Steam.
Oh, Christ, yes.
It's got to have Lemmings as well, don't it? Lemmings was the classic.
Even my dog's got Worms.
It's not got the full list here. There's also what looks like some sort of weird Amiga control pad here, which I'd never really seen before, but... Yeah, okay.
Do you realise that Amiga means girlfriend?
Does it?
Yeah, amigo is a boy that's a friend. Amiga is a girl that's a friend.
Well, that fits.
Yeah.
I did spend an awful lot of time with
it. I'm glad you finished that sentence that way. For some reason, for just a moment, I thought it was going to go a bit wrong there.
I chose wisely. The thing is, I'm likely to... It'll probably get as close to this coming out, and I'll resist pulling the trigger on it, because I'll just be like, well, I'll just look
Wait
for
for
those
the
games
reviews.
instead.
Honestly, that sort of thing. There's no point in pre-ordering. But
I'm liking these mini console things. They sell out like day one, but they come back round eventually on like second-hand places and stuff like that.
I think if I wanted to, I'd just rather play them on the PC with a keyboard like they were built for. I can't really.
Having said that, though, there is one that I'm holding out for if it does ever happen, and hopefully all the ROMs will be as good and all that. It's not the Mega Drive, because that would be cool. Mini Mega Drive would be cool. A mini Dreamcast.
I had the mini Mega Drive.
I've got the mini Mega Drive.
That was one of the consoles I loved. I had so many games.
Dreamcast. I never had one, so
I've still got one that kind of barely works. I've still got loads of games for it.
I gave mine away as a raffle prize, pub raffle prize, but it was like, I don't know, it cost me like 30 quid, I think, after the work discount.
Wow.
But I just was like, I'm never going to use it ever. Like, I'm just not going to use it.
What was it? What did you give away? Your mini
Mega Drive.
Yeah.
Oh, not Dreamcast then. Sorry, I think
I was going to say, I'd be like, you
Marcus
bastard.
would have been most upset. Firstly,
no, they haven't gone there yet.
I know. I'm home.
Only a matter of time.
Fingers crossed. When that does happen, I'm going to possibly, it depends how much they charge for it and how well it works, because kind of got burnt a bit after the PlayStation Mini, where the emulation they used was actually worse than the emulators that existed out there.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
Couple of juicy Ubisoft stories. We do like a Ubisoft game. Well, certainly me and Will do.
I bloody love them.
So the first one I've got here is Assassin's Creed as a live service, which when you sent me the story, Will...
That's how you are, Rob, because you're still frickin' playing Valhalla, aren't you?
Yeah, because it's now the summer festival. So I've got a little bit... I tried not to get too involved in that. To be honest, some of the quests were a little bit...
hang on.
Shall we say, rote, maybe? Anyway, but I gave that up because... it's still... I think it's just finishing tonight, but they have all these little...
yeah, you got distracted by that shit. Just play the main story.
I just want to understand something. Your game's getting updated with like little festivals of unique quests.
Yeah, they add seasonal content
that you
Assassin's
can go in
Creed
and
now.
get unique items for and stuff like that. And
yeah, when you go back to your base, it's like there's loads of different stuff going on.
But Marcus, it's because you can. There will be some people that will go and rather than go, I want to grind and do this, they'll monetize it. It's because you've got microtransaction capabilities that this shit turns up. I dislike it. I ignored it when I played because the nice thing is you can
when I was
disregard
talking
it.
about a certain game I was playing for Yonks that had seasonal festivities and unique quests. I had 5,000 tons of piss ripped out of me. My urethra still hurts from that, but
no, but you were happily playing that and loving it. I'm like, fuck me, it's August and I'm still playing this fucking game.
There's the flip. That's fine. That's okay.
Yeah. So
I don't understand why Rob's still playing it either.
I'm slightly annoyed by it, but I'm also kind of like actually quite enjoying the fact that the game has managed to that I've played it so long that. You know, that the game seems to be evolving and changing as I play it.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that purely from a technical and also
I totally get
immersive
that. I totally get that. It's like as you're doing the world
this
is
is my
evolving,
problem actually with the Ubisoft games though. I want to play them day one. Sorry, we will go back to the Assassin's Creed Online service thing in just a moment. But you see, I want to play them day one.
This is all relevant.
Yeah, I want to play them day one. And when Far Cry comes out, because there's been such an absolute drought, and I really haven't played much new recently, I'm kind of desperate to play it. But what I do know is with Far Cry, if it's anything like Assassin's Creed, if it's anything like Watch Dogs, it's going to be released as a complete game, but it will then have a shitload added to it for the 6 months to a year after its release. It will be a better game. If I don't play it, it will cost me less and I will enjoy it more if I don't actually support Ubisoft in the way they would most like me to and just buy it. I'm better off waiting until I can buy it for half the money and I will get more enjoyment. That's
all of it.
Annoying.
But that's also part of the model, and that's why they do it. Because you might think, oh, I'm not supporting them by not buying it day one. But there are people that will always buy it day one, and they know that. The early adopters is the
really
business
want to
model,
play Far Cry
isn't
6
it?
because
they
fucking love
want
Far
the first
Cry.
ones because then they can talk about it and they can do this and that, and then they'll happily get the expansions and everything else. And
the problem with sorry,
no, I'm saying, but that's the business model. It's the thing, isn't it? The early adopters. It's like consoles, early adopters, and then you've got the whatever, and you've got the late stragglers as well.
The thing is, when I got to Odyssey, I there was so much stuff in that game that had been put in there post-launch that it sort of expanded it even more, and I wasn't even able to differentiate between what was original content and what was updated. It just felt a bit bloated. So I'm almost kind of glad that I got in on day one with this one, and I'm able to sort of at least see what the critical path is.
Got in on day one, but 10 months later you're still playing the fucker.
Yeah, I know.
He knows what the main path is and what all of the bits that are added in. Because otherwise you'd be thinking...
Last night all I managed to do was fuck about at that festival thing. I got a new beard that from having a few fights. I actually got to try out the double shield fighting that I'd not really entertained before.
Because it's stupid.
Because, well, it is stupid, yeah, and not very satisfying. But now I know that.
Double battle axe, I get.
And then it was getting quite late, so I thought, okay, well, let's at least get myself to a point. So when I pick the game up next time, I'll be somewhere doing some actual content. So I went to Essex finally, and I bumped into Keith Flint.
Brother Keith.
Did the whole smack my bishop thing, which I found very amusing. Even though I knew, I was like, oh, it's that bit, it's that reference. So I was very happy with that, and I've just parked myself near Colchester Castle. So
nice.
So yeah.
I must admit, there's a real joy in visiting places you actually know, even if there's no landmarks, physical references. It's all reduced hugely. But I live up on the Norfolk-Suffolk border. That's all covered. I know Essex. I know all sorts of places, and you at least recognise the town names. Particularly, I was quite surprised Basildon, which I've always thought of as a new town, but obviously there was a hamlet there and all of these things. But one of my favourite things that Basildon was basically in the game a prison camp. For those that know it, you'll get it.
Yeah. So all this sort of leads me to my point, which was when you first mentioned to me that this story about them creating live service, I was just like, oh no, not another one of my favourite franchises turning into a fucking service. But to be honest, all the evidence points to this happening. It's already happened. I kind of get it. Yeah, just subscribe.
Yeah, it's going to be just subscribe to Assassin's Creed. Don't buy the next Assassin's Creed game, but they'll keep releasing Assassin's Creed content. Yeah. This century, that century, this culture, that culture. I mean, it'd be fascinating to see what they do. I will be holding back. I mean, I did the Ubisoft Play service subscription because you had Watch Dogs came out and Assassin's Creed came out at the same time and Immortals Phoenix Rising came out at the same time, and that was between October last year and maybe January, maybe February, I can't remember exactly. Jesus Christ, that was well worth my $7.99 or a month or whatever, and then it's been dead and remains dead for another month till we get a Far Cry. So, just be careful to what you subscribe, but I got to play all of those for about 30 quid.
Well, if they do it under that thing, then you'll probably get this included anyway. But
that's when it becomes interesting, and that's what I'm suspecting. So what they're going to be looking for is your Netflix level monthly subscription, and they're going to just keep trickling out content. Now, the question becomes, do you binge it like you could with Netflix and just have it for 3 months of the year, or are you going to be the kind of person that'll just keep it open and just keep pummeling it in? Now that gets really interesting to me. It's a new world, And I ain't got the time.
The thing is, I feel like with Assassin's Creed, I just sort of paid up front for a year of it, for the 60 quid or whatever I shelled out on bloody PlayStation.
Yeah.
And I have felt several times ever since this news story's come out, I feel like, this is like an MSO or like, a massively single player game where there's
MSG,
no end
I
in
think
sight.
that is. Makes you feel a bit ropey.
But it just feels like there's no end in sight, and I'm just trawling through this massive world of really like nicely acted content, but it is a bit like repetitive. Even like the little side quests and stuff, they only really rely upon a few little gameplay elements, and also like the way that it's so incremental, the way that you upgrade your character. I can't even remember what I'm going for half the time, and end up sometimes just banking
that'll
loads.
be the case if you've been playing the same game over 10 months. I mainlined it in a month and a half, and it was all crystal. You're juggling a number of games and sort of falling back to this. It's an interesting one, but to constantly have Assassin's Creed as your fallback game in the context of this as a service thing, I don't think it appeals to me. I don't think it's me.
That's my life. So I guess what I'm saying is I've warmed to this idea because that's kind of like my life or the way it's been for the last.
Yeah. So you might as well just subscribe.
Yeah, because the thing is, unless you just want to play one game, and it's also come out of circumstance, because the thing that fucked this for me, I probably would have been done with this game a long time ago as well, had it not been for Cyberpunk, and because I had these two competing entities that I couldn't fully embrace either of. It kind of sullied both games, really.
Yeah, I decided Cyberpunk was wasting my fucking time, because once again, a couple of months ago, I had a good old crack at it, got a fair way through, and then just got to the point, fired up the PC, thought, what shall I play? Oh, shall I carry on with Cyberpunk? No, I can't be bothered. You have this piece in your personality that says, I must finish this thing I started. It doesn't matter if I'm enjoying it. I don't care how bad a time I'm having. I must finish that game.
Oh, it never got that bad with Cyberpunk. I mean, it wasn't like I wasn't having fun. It was just kind of constant disappointment. It doesn't mean that I wasn't having a good time.
Can we analyse that sentence?
Yeah, but anyway, the thing is, it's like, anyway, I'm still playing Assassin's Creed. If they want to turn it into a service, so be it. Fine. So that's what it is then.
Would it be alright if they did it with Monster Hunter?
To be honest, Monster Hunter has that anyway, but it's usually free. All of the events and stuff and extra hunts and everything, they get added on for free. The only things
but they also do paid DLC as well, don't they?
No, the only paid DLC you get are extra like critters or costumes. Oh, and emotes.
Not game
typical
effect,
Japanese stuff, aesthetic stuff.
Oh, well, they don't need to do story stuff, do they? Because there isn't one.
No,
well, it's a loose story, but you get expansions as well that do actually expand the main story path. So
I can't believe I raised this.
No, but you do. You get the end game. You get the normal end game. That's part of the game you buy. Then you get the extended one where they bring in sort of like the Apex versions of stuff. But that also has cutscenes and voice acting and everything else. So there's actually a lot of work that's gone into it. So that should be essentially what you would get on a season pass, which they didn't do. And this was for Monster Hunter World and Iceborne, considering they gave each of them an extra year of free content. And then you got the sort of game plus as well. So you've got a shitload of stuff. Then you got all the festivals keep reoccurring every year. Monster Hunter World is still going.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
You could still jump on and the festivals will keep rotating round because they know people are picking up the game now and still starting. Like last time I played it, just for a laugh, there were people still doing the really early quests that had just started the game. And they've got a shitload of free content. Essentially, the game is 5 times the size it was.
What happened to that? So a couple of episodes ago, you'd just picked up the latest Monster Hunter game on the Switch.
I was actually going to talk about that when you guys were talking about it. Rob was talking about how a game's expanded so much more. This has had, I think, 2 title upgrades or something now. So even I've watched the videos of them. Yep.
So it's Monster Hunter. What's it called? Sorry.
Monster Hunter Rise.
That's the bunny.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't played it in a little while, but I've seen there's been 3 title updates to it already, where they've added loads more extra monsters in and stuff like that and everything else. You get crossovers with other games and stuff, other quests. They've already started doing a collaboration with other things. Like in the previous one, you could do a Street Fighter collaboration and pick up sort of a Ryu skin, so you could run around as Ryu from Street Fighter with a fucking great sword, smacking the shit out of a dinosaur. Because why not? Or you could be Dante from Devil May Cry. It was bonkers, the sheer amount of stuff. That's why I loved it. I was in a happy little bubble, and I didn't need to play any other games, because it was just insane. It was like Disneyland. Only with more free
I still
stuff.
go back to Overwatch. I mean, there is no plot to Overwatch. I have nearly, possibly over 1,000 hours in Overwatch now. It's
something crazy?
Disgusting.
Me and Suze were actually talking about this the other day, and we were saying we've both got Switches. We haven't, obviously with the new dog, we haven't had time to sit in game much, and Rise feels a bit different.
You say, obviously with the new dog we haven't had time to sit in game. I'm sorry, dude. My dog only moves about twice a day.
Yeah, but your dog's not a puppy.
That's true.
She, you know, the whole puppy training, everything, to the point she's now acting like a dog now.
You mean like proper dog parents, rather than just ignoring the bugger like I do.
Well, yeah, but she's cool though. But yeah, so we're looking to try and find time between that and working as well, and work's been an absolute bugger. But I even jokingly said, should we start Monster Hunter from the start, like make a new character and start from the beginning? And she went, I'm totally up for that.
Oh, what world? Sorry,
like from the beginning, from world,
sorry,
all the way through
world
to Iceborne.
Oh my good God!
And she said, yeah, I'd be totally up for that. So we found the game so much fun, we were willing to restart again, not delete the character, but restart again.
Separate save, separate.
So you don't need any other game.
And pick different classes, because the game will be a completely different struggle.
Yeah,
entirely.
It plays differently. I get that. I mean, there are games that I love. I mean, I actually replayed Rage 2.
It is our World of Warcraft, I think, back in the prime. I think that's what it's become.
Yeah.
Like,
not nearly as big a game, but I actually recently, it's more nostalgia gaming I'm after at the moment, or a bit of comfort gaming. And Rage 2, which was my game of the year a couple of years ago. It's free on Game Pass, and I think it's a cracking game. I think it got some bad reviews for certain flaws, which are totally there and understandable.
But if you're enjoying
but the point is, the gunplay is just magnificent. The rush you get of going into a bandit camp and fighting your way through it. I play it on hard.
I know.
It's a fun. There's so much fun to be had.
There is I don't want to use the phrase X factor, but some games have a certain extra thing that you bring to it, or it brings out in you. And it's more than what they've played. It's kind of like that feel. Like I said, it's the reason why we were playing these games for God knows how long. It's that little extra thing where we've got the mechanics down, we know what we're doing now, and we're comfortable in the game, and it's still a struggle. But it's like you get decent hits on a big bastard, and it gets smacked backwards. You're like, "Come on, let's go and kill this fucker!" And you're like hunting it down, and then it runs, and you're like, "We're gonna fucking murderize this son of a bitch because it smacked me around the map." And it's like, you know, you get almost like a weird gaming bloodlust.
Yeah,
but
so
I've
realised. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. So on Game Pass, a lot of the games I'd played on PlayStation, particularly on a controller, I've been able to play on a nice gaming PC on mouse and keyboard. Things like Wolfenstein, I played obviously the remakes, Wolfenstein 2, and a couple of the extra side ones. I played Rage 2, had a go at Doom Eternal, and I've realised it's still not my bag.
It's a tough bastard of a game, those games.
It's not the difficulty that bothers me, it's the lack of a story that bugs me.
Yeah.
Rage 2 actually completely lacked a story, but there's something there that appeals to me still. Wolfenstein, though, is a story game, and has the best of the shooting mechanics and all of that stuff. But I'm really enjoying going through some of that stuff at the moment. That's my bag.
I've been playing some cool stuff on Game Pass. If we're just going to freewheel around,
Yeah, let's do it.
like a couple of basically, there's this indie company called Raw Fury.
Fury, okay.
They're based in Sweden, and I listened to a podcast. It's called what's that podcast called? It's called.
Oh, you started off so confident.
No, they have a podcast called one moment, Games, Potatoes and Spatulas, which is hosted by Garnet Lee, who's like a big time sort of game pundit, American game pundit anyway.
Okay.
And but he works for Raw Fury, and they've got a couple of games on Game Pass. First one I played is called Backbone, which is like starts off like an investigation game. You're playing like a badger.
I saw that. Is it good?
Yeah,
I want to play as a badger.
Yeah, it's very reedy or wordy, but it starts off like you think, oh god, this is going to be like point and click puzzles and shit, but it isn't really. It sort of the story takes over a bit, and it kind of goes in some interesting directions. But it's all like sort of anthropomorphized animals, like BoJack. Okay. Like it's that sort of thing.
So animals that have been given human characteristics for listeners.
So you're like a private eye, and you're looking for some dude, and you start sleuthing around, climbing up rooftops and things. It's not very action game, but it's quite cool.
I just really like badgers.
Well, you'll like this then. And it's not very long. Cool. It doesn't take very long. The other game I played is called Call of the Sea. And this is a really beautiful Unreal Engine sort of thing where it's all kind of narrated. It's a bit Lovecraft. You're chasing after your husband who's gone missing. But the island's got a secret. And you go through and you're solving puzzles. It's not, again, it's a bit, I suppose it's a bit like what Myst used to be, like those sort of games.
I never actually played Myst. I feel like I'm the sort of person that should have done.
I haven't either, but I've been told.
I've seen it.
Oh, okay. So we're all bluffing.
I've seen it.
I sort of described it. I always used to take the piss out of my mate Keith because he said that Myst was his favourite game, and I was like, "What? You don't shoot anyone in that or kill anything?"
How many points do you get for a headshot?
But I was young then, and I've grown up a bit. I like to think. But anyway, Call of the Sea is really cool. Let's just say it embraces the more fantasy elements of Lovecraft. It's not in any way scary, because a big part of Lovecraft is you just learning to accept the weirdness, because it's all part of your birthright and stuff like that. So,
have you read any Lovecraft?
I think it's based on books that of existing stories. It's not original. This is like
Myst. Have you read any Lovecraft? Just like, have you played Myst? Okay, you've read. Okay,
I have actually. Yeah. I've got like a book of short stories.
Okay,
I remember some of them better than others.
That's fine. Sorry, I'm genuinely surprised because I didn't know you read books.
I don't really, but I have.
In the nicest possible way. I mean,
it was the one book you read that led to the madness.
Hand up, I don't read much. But the thing is, I think I got so obsessed with that sort of fiction when I played the RPG, and I sort of was a bit curious, so I had to kind of like do a bit more delving. So, yeah, I have read some of it. I don't know where the book is. I don't know where half my books are. I don't have many books, but anyway, yeah. So I've got those two games alone. I've got my money out of. Oh yeah, nice.
Sorry, I'm just proving that I do have some Lovecraft omnibuy. One omnibus, two omnibuy. Are we going with?
Yeah, we can go with that. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll do.
And the other game, while we're talking about Game Pass, did you try the Ascent?
I downloaded the Ascent, and then I read the reviews, and I just kind of went, this is just a multiplayer game that's going to be no fun on my own, and I can't be asked to organise multiplayer nights after Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
That's it. That's horribly unforgiving. But that was more a deliberate lead into Sea and Thieves. More I've been busy and can't quite be asked to start what's ostensibly a multiplayer game on my own unless there's a deliberate line-up to do it to get ready to play multiplayer. So the short version is no.
I played like an hour of it, and I thought it looked stunning. In fact, there's a YouTube channel that I follow called something places that they do what they do. Is
it's a bit of a Kardashian, isn't it? Looks quite nice on the outside, but ultimately horribly shallow.
Yeah, basically, I'm just not into those sort of twin stick shooters, really.
I've never heard
other places
them described
other
as that,
places.
But...
YouTube
movement and then directional shooting. Isn't it?
No, it's the Kardashians.
Yeah,
still.
it's like it all descends from like Smash TV, where you're moving in one direction and
Smash
aiming with the
TV.
other.
Now that is one of those bloody hell. I think Smash TV was an arcade game originally, wasn't it? Sorry, I'm going back to the old Amiga 500. That's a blast from the past.
You didn't have a fire button. You literally just aimed in a direction and that fired in a direction.
Yep.
So
Midnight Resistance was the first one for me.
That was a side scroller, but yeah, similar sort of thing. Yeah, where you could aim and move and aim in different
Ikari
directions.
Warriors 3.
Yeah, Midnight Resistance was a favourite of mine, yeah.
Midnight Resistance was cracking. When you got that flamethrower from the shop, oh yeah, you were a god.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, no. There's this YouTube channel called Other Places. What they do is they've done like Skyrim and loads of. They do like sort of almost like screensaver sort of with music, just of a game's world. And they did one of the Ascent, and it looks like you're watching fucking some Blade Runner anime. Like the thing about the visuals of the Ascent is it's not just like it looks good. There's so much going on.
There's
like layers and layers of graphics, and it's just mental. But all it is this sort of really simplistic,
pointy, clicky, dull gameplay. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I was not really
like Syndicate. In a sense.
Well, no, because Syndicate was like you were controlling a squad and you had to manage their like certain levels of like dopamine and whatever and aggro. It was like their stats, wasn't it? You were managing in real time to make them go psycho, or that was a weird game.
I remember the game existing, but I never played it.
Yeah, it was a Bullfrog one, Peter Molyneux.
Oh, okay.
But anyway,
he had some interesting ideas. Black and white,
definitely.
Though. I would love another black and white game. In VR, we had a previous conversation about that. But yeah, Black and White 3, VR, being able to wave around and be God from on high.
Absolutely. Right, you did... Shall we do some news, or did you want to segue into Sea of Thieves? I'm totally fine.
We could do that. The other one to mention, if we're still on the kind of what we've been playing... let's talk a bit of Sea of Thieves, because that was one we actually have all played together. But we had a bad time, didn't we? Well, we had a good time, and then it all went a bit Pete Tong, didn't it?
Yeah, until we found an actual pirate.
Yeah. So, let's start with what was good. So it was the three of us and sometimes former gentleman of this podcast, Mr. Marson, and we sailed around rubbishly and we drank grog and threw up over each other, and I got annoyed because people wouldn't tighten the sails right or raise the anchor. We went to islands and I had a moment of triumph if I read the treasure map right and put my shovel in the earth and it went thunk against a wooden lid on the first time. There was nothing more satisfying
these
than
are all
going
the
off
good
looking at
things
the map
of the game.
and going boom. And you could do a bit of fishing, and I never actually managed to land a fish, annoyingly. Maybe I was getting it wrong. And you just go around, and you notice the same mechanisms repeating themselves, but generally, kind of good fun. A good way to just have a very shallow-feeling game, but a good way to have a laugh with some friends would have been the way I'd have put it.
I mean, we didn't even do some of the stuff, like go after the, with the ghost ships and stuff like that. You can have little sea battles with the ghost ships. There were lots of things in there we didn't even tap into. I mean, we basically ran from all the megalodons that turned up. We were like, shitting hell! But there was get out of the water, run!
Yeah, there were some good systems in there for like. It wasn't overcomplicated, but there was some good systems in there to facilitate a nice, friendly co-op experience.
A bit of a laugh thing, yeah. Go on.
And I would have been more willing to explore those had we not had the random element.
Yes, the trouble is, I would like to be able to play that game without other human people.
It seems completely apt, though, for a pirate game to have that element in it, and it would feel almost like you're sucking the soul of it away to remove it.
It's potentially a griefer's paradise, though. That's the thing.
I just think. I think to be honest, they were using exploits and hacks and shit, though.
I think that's entirely possible because their names were hidden. So what happened is, I mean, we got smashed a couple of times. First time was actually, I think, some people being honest about it, but just being a lot better than us. Yeah. One of them got a ship chased us. Our mast got shot to pieces with chain shots. Someone was fired from their cannon onto our deck and immediately killed us all. And actually, that was quite one of those things. Didn't enjoy it, but they did an impressive job. The next lot, they were trying to be all friendly, and then they basically hid on our ship and were using hacks to hide, I believe hacks, or an exploit of some sort, to hide their names so we couldn't basically see where they were, and then basically killing us using what felt like extremely unfair tactics to new people. Yeah. But the point is, we didn't really want to be in a world with them in the first place, and we got utterly ruined by them, is the best way to put it. We don't know if they were using hacks for certain or just exploiting the game in a way that we are not clever enough to do. There was nothing like a fair fight there. It was a professional swordsman versus a hedgehog kind of vibe. We got utterly ruined and we left the game despondent.
I feel it's the kind of game that you get the most from it playing the way that we did. Because since then I've looked at sort of a couple of other streams and stuff like that, and you do get one or two kind of arseholes that try to just like go out and it's like GTA. They go out and think it's GTA on the water. But I think the majority of streams I've seen have been people getting together with groups and mates and stuff and pissing about on boats and trying to fulfill the quests and stuff.
I think, if you look at something like Bethesda's Fallout 76, you get options when you go into a map, and you can basically say, yes, this is full player versus player environment, or there is no player versus player environment, or handicaps or whatever. You can basically say, yes, people that spawn in the world, we want to play nicely, and we don't want to play nicely. And if you could have that choice going in, then we could have had a lovely time just exploring and treasure hunting and being some mates, having a chance to social together, and not being destroyed by some Dutch hackers.
Yeah.
Oh, well, perhaps Skull and Bones will be the game that we're looking for then.
Skull and Bones?
I will say one quick thing, though, before we go full Skull and Bones. The very thing that causes grief could also be the very thing that can cause ecstasia? I don't know. Enjoyment.
Money?
Because if we played with another group of 4, they could come with us on all of the adventure.
Yes, but once again, it's
like
that setting. Raid. It's that setting. If you could team up as groups of ships and be friendly, as in turn off the PvP.
A group PvE, yeah.
Yeah, exactly that.
God,
that's all I would like.
To get 4 of us together.
Yeah, but if you meet another, if you can have friendly people, but they can't attack you, or damage is incredibly lowered for the aggressors or whatever. You know what I mean? There are always rules to make it friendly.
You strike an accord with another crew. And
well,
then
that's it. You can strike
friendly
one
damage.
of you can strike an accord, the other one can play a banj, and the other one can play a dra, and together you can play some music.
Yeah. Anyway,
sorry.
Yo ho ho! It's all Skull and Bones, isn't it? So,
except Skull and Bones will never be, or maybe, or one day, God knows what's going on with Skull and Bones.
Well,
Rob?
you read more of this than I did.
I've read the story of Skull and Bones.
I mean, basically, the headline of the article was. First, it was an Assassin's Creed expansion. Now it's Ubisoft's 8-year nightmare.
Yes. I
Basically, they love the idea of a pirate ship simulator, which I love too. But the trouble is, so Skull and Bones has gone through a number of iterations, and what I wanted, and I think one of the iterations was, and I can't remember where it is now, was I will be the captain of my pirate ship and I will sail from island to island, and like Assassin's Creed, I can run around on the ground, or I can be basically controlling my ship, cannons left, cannons right, pretty much Assassin's Creedy, but I want to be able to trade. I want to be able to buy goods at one port and sell them at another port and listen to rumours, but I also want the ability to furl my sails and pull out the pirate flag and hide my identity or show my identity. I want to be able to hire honest crew or dishonest crew and manage those like an RPG. I want to be able to play not necessarily a pirate, but a true buccaneer and captain of the high seas in the way I want to. This is how I want to roleplay. But Ubisoft, at one point, it was a PvP only high seas game.
Yeah.
At another point, it was a single player sim. At the first point, as Rob says, it was essentially an expansion. It was the multiplayer expansion for Assassin's Creed 4.
Black Flag.
Which ended up being, they said, I remember at the time, they basically said the ocean animation and the keeping track of the waves for all of the multiplayer side of things, they just couldn't do in the early days of the PS4 and all of that level of tech. They couldn't keep track. They tried it, so they looked to do it in a game dedicated to that. But the whole thing is bonkers. But you add that to the Ubisoft Singapore, which I think is where it was being delivered. There's been claims of all sorts of shenanigans, which we're seeing at far too many software houses, sadly. Once again, I mean, Blizzard, Activision, we're seeing horrible claims of horrible behaviour. People getting sacked due to being absolute shitbags, frankly. Gropey, nasty, dirty shitbags. I'm not going to go into that too much because it depresses the shit out of me. It certainly had a knock-on effect to Overwatch 2, but back to Skull and Bones. It appears to have knocked the crap out of that game. And, happy days.
It's the fact that from within, the game is no longer an actual game. It's this entity of itself that kind of exists. So when developers come into, like, Ubi, they start working on this project, and then they move on to other things. It's
and
like
then the project gets reset, yeah.
Yeah, it's like they come on, they work on it for 3 years, there's no progress, and then they move on to another project. It's almost a bit soul-destroying because you're then made to work on it like this game is going to come out.
Yeah.
But there is no end in sight. I don't know what the term is. It's basically just it's like if they called it a never-ending story, it would be irony.
Well, that's the new Assassin's Creed, isn't it?
Yeah. Assassin's Creed Black Hole. Just like
you know what? That's not the worst approach, yeah. But yeah,
space.
Unfortunately, Skull and Bones I loved the idea of, but what I don't know if it's going to be a multiplayer. I mean, to me the idea was the one in my head, almost an Elder Scrolls but with ships kind of vibe. Or
to
something
be honest,
like that.
I kind of feel that if Sea of Thieves gets a PvE update at some point, I'd be happy with that. And then
I'd jump back in at that point.
Because that the water effects, everything, the way it was, even if it was sometimes procedurally generated, there looked like enough in the world to explore. Especially with like the expansions you could do with your mates and everything else. Like the Pirates of the Caribbean one that they added. If there's more of that, and it's all just your team, your crew versus the environment. And,
Sea of Thieves, if they stop basically people attacking us, so like pirates, nastiness.
No, a parlay mode. A parlay mode where it's pure teamwork. It's just other teams, they can join the server, but there's no friendly damage. It's all on the environment.
It's a server setting, exactly that. Yeah.
Parlay mode, that'll be it. That's what they need.
That'll
not parsnip, that'll be the French.
I'm fascinated to understand where parsnip mode might come from. But anyway,
Parsnip.
what else we got on the agenda, Rob?
There's a bunch of like Sony stuff. People were getting upset at the price of Ghost of Tsushima's director's mode because of the way that they've sort of structured it. Like there's a load of features you get on the PS5 version, but it's like £9 or something.
Well, at the end of the day, if you want to go out and buy the game, and you haven't played it before, go out and buy the game. Either buy the really cheap PlayStation 4 and follow the upgrade path, or buy the other one, but I don't really get it. If you want to play a game, you can buy a physical disc version if you've bought the physical disc machine. If you've chosen to cheap out and not buy the physical disc machine, you're stuck on the digital path. Deal with it. Right?
Yeah.
Any more to add, chaps? Yeah, if you've bought a machine that can't take it on disc, you probably screwed up. You'll pay what you pay, or you wait and it'll be cheap on a sale in a year's time, 6 months, whatever. Off we crack.
Yeah, so what you get on the PS5 version is dynamic 4K resolution at 60 frames, DualSense haptic feedback, and adaptive trigger resistance. This is all fair enough because you wouldn't be able to get it on the PS4 anyway. 3D audio with stereo headphones. Not so sure about that. Lip sync for Japanese voiceover, or that. And the ability to transfer PS4 save progress to the PS5 game.
So, you bought it on PS4, and for £9, you don't have to rebuy it. What's the problem?
Basically, if you want the PS4 upgrade from the original Ghost of Tsushima, it costs £16.
Okay.
If you already own Ghost of Tsushima on PS4, you can upgrade to Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut on PS5 for £25. So that's what it cost me.
So do you want to do that?
I'm probably done with this game, to be honest with you.
So
I don't think I'm going to bother with it. I have heard that new island is about the size of one of the chapters.
Yeah,
but I think you have to start a new game, and I'm not going to do that.
Well, to me, it doesn't bother me. I don't mind paying for DLC expansions. £25 for an expansion pack is not an unusual cost. If that gives me an upgrade between generations as well, okay. I don't... And also, I'm aware that's the day one price, like £70 for a game is the day one price. I'm also well aware, in a sale in a few months' time, it'll be half that. What's the problem?
I don't know. Some people are just saying that the Director's Cut paywall...
you know what? People say all sorts of shit. Screw them.
Yeah.
Or,
that's the editorial on this article, actually, at Eurogamer.
No, I'm not sympathetic to the audience. No,
I think it's because Microsoft are offering free next-gen upgrades to Xbox games, and it feels like Sony are charging for it, essentially.
Well, they are. But they're also releasing things differently. They're just a different company. It's almost like if you buy lollipops, that the lollipop manufacturers are expected to follow the same behaviours as the chocolate bar manufacturers when it's two different things. That's a terrible example. Shut up, Will. Stop talking. Now. No, stop.
So the only other Sony thing... well, there's a couple of things. Sorry. Sony bought Housemarque, which makes sense because they only make Sony games
they were
anyway.
The twin-stick Resogun and stuff, weren't they? Yep.
Yeah, Returnal recently. Makes sense.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
There was
Returnal
a state of play, but the only thing that really stuck out from that was this game called Jet the Far Shore. I quite like the look of that one. That was the only thing I remember from it. And moving away from Sony, Remedy announced Control 2 and multiplayer for Control. I think generally Control has been a big hit for them, and they've got Alan Wake, the new Alan Wake in development as well. That's cool. And there was a rumour going around that a new Dead Space was coming out, but it seems like that's just a remake. So, that game looked fine when I played it originally, so...
Yeah, but it could be a lot more going on with more power and stuff like that. You know?
Yeah, if it's a remake composed to a remaster, I would treat that as a new game. It might be following the same plot, but it will be a different game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly.
That's like the original Dawn of the Dead versus the Romero remake of Dawn of the Dead, right? That's a remake.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know whether it's just... I think it's more of a remake than a remaster.
Yeah. So if they're making it again from scratch, then dandy, it's a new game in my opinion, because they'll be taking modern gameplay techniques, modern graphics, all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
that's
EA
why
Motive.
The quality of life
it's
stuff.
It's EA Motive who are doing that, the guys that did the Star Wars Squadrons. So they know what they're doing.
That's a weird choice to jump from ships to... Actually, no, it's sci-fi.
Well, in a ship to on horror. A ship, but yeah.
All right, so I think that's all the news we've got. I want to talk about a game that I've been playing called The Forgotten City, which was originally a Skyrim mod.
Sorry, the what city?
Which one, the Forgotten... He's forgotten it already. Brilliant, well done.
Ugh, you prick.
Fucking hell. It's not the best name, I tell you, but yeah, it's
what
fairly
was it called
forgettable,
again?
I suppose. But anyway, if we can get over that.
Please.
It's called The Forgotten City, and it was originally a Skyrim mod that won BAFTAs, but everyone forgot about it, so they brought it out as its own game, but forgot to change the name of it to something more So, you've got me going now. It's turning into a paradox.
I was planning to start on the wind up and ask again, but I don't think I need to because Rob's slowly turning red. Just saying the name again of that game.
Oh.
That what's the game?
It doesn't matter. So is
forgotten it already, mate.
It's like a paradox, which is quite fitting, in fact, because this game is a time loop game, which is,
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me it was from Paradox Interactive or something.
No, that would be more... I don't know. Maybe it is.
That would be what? A coincidence, to be fair. Yeah. Not Paradox.
No. So the thing is, though, the whole point of the game is to create a paradox to escape from this city, which is basically... it's like a Roman city, and there's lots of gold statues around, and it's quite timely because the way that this thing is set up is if anyone breaks the golden rule, these statues come alive and kill everyone.
Oh, what's the golden rule?
Well, that's the question. What is the golden rule?
Always wash your hands after you've had a poo.
Yeah, exactly. But it's, it all relies on everyone doing the right thing. And, that's quite a timely sort of circumstance to explore, you might say. Well,
I've not seen any examples in recent years of people not doing the right... No, sorry, I've misremembered. Forgotten.
You've forgotten about the... everyone doing the right thing. Yeah. The thing is, what happens very early on in the game is someone's sick and they say, "Oh, we need this medicine," and you literally walk outside and you see a load of that medicine and you get the option to steal it. So, of course, I stole it, and then it's like, boom! All the statues come alive, kill you, and then you die. Or
thou shalt not steal, being a golden rule, presumably.
Yes, but then there's other things that you think might be the golden rule but aren't. Ultimately, what you're trying to do, there are 4 different endings to this game.
Is the golden rule don't be a dick?
Might generally, but yeah, you need to be more specific in order to solve the various challenges that are posed. But there's very little combat in the game. It's very much about talking to people, finding out what's what, uncovering the secret of why you were there. And it's actually very, very good. There are some incredible moments, like I don't know. Just to give you an example, you have to go to this place, and then this guy comes out saying, "I've been sent here to kill so and so," and so you it's like you have to sort of like the time loop mechanic exists in order for you to sort of experiment with what is possible. But then because once you've gone through the time loop a few times, you start talking to people, and then it's like don't worry, I already know this, and it's all built into the scripting of your possible responses. So you can go, yeah, I've already spoken to you before. Can you just do this, and this for me?
Bandersnatch. Yeah, that
the Black Mirror special.
Yeah,
where they start going, oh, hang on,
they need to do more of that shit. Anyway, sorry. Yeah.
But there's some wonderful scripting moments where you sort of accidentally lure someone into somewhere, and by the time you've done it a few times, in order to actually try and get through the game, you see a guy at the beginning who goes, oh, hello, and you're like, oh, can you just do this, and this for me? Which are basically the things that you've ended up doing on previous run-throughs. And while you're talking to someone, you can hear, like, the guy, you can see him running around past you doing all these things for you. And then, like, there's a bit which involves the collapse of this tomb. And I was chatting to another character, and I heard it going, and I was like, oh, well, that's happened. So it's all, like, actually happening. All of the scripting is happening. It's not just, like, ticking a box in the program. It's actually doing it all again for you.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, there's... it's a really interesting game. And you can run... Like, I mean, I'm just... Because whenever I play like these multiple ending things, I always just do my version. But the game does very much encourage you to try and complete it in all the different ways you can. But I haven't done that yet. But it took about 8 hours, I think, in all.
Not too painful compared to Assassin's
really,
Creed.
I think I picked it up for like 17 or 18 quid. It was a little bit reduced on its first week of release. But it's got very good reviews from most places. I'd wishlist it, stick it on the wish list, and if it turns up, it's a good distraction for a bit.
Sounds good.
Yep.
So I bought a game
yep.
called Wildermyth. And I think I told you about it, Rob, once I'd bought it. Yep. But I found it quite dull. How did you get on?
I really enjoyed it. I made my characters you two and me. And I...
So Bono and the Edge and you?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Oh, come on, that was good.
It was good. But you've had too many, so we're ignoring you now. You want a timeout, Will.
I very much like sort of like turn-based sort of D&D type games. But what I liked, because I played through the first campaign, which is in 3 parts, there's very little in the way of like actually character progression, like manual character progression, outside of the like ending of each of those chapters. So if there's any weapons you want to make and things like that, you don't get to do it until the end. But there's lots of stuff going on under the hood in terms of like your rep with certain characters. So you'll end up with different results depending on how you split up your characters. Because as well as like the various adventures you get into, there's like a kind of overmap sort of resource control element where you might be sort of you might set up a library somewhere or
so
build outposts and things.
It's worth saying. So this is kind of a 2D/3D RPG type game where you develop 3 or so characters and run them through little randomly generated quests, and there's kind of this dungeon master element. Sorry, painting a bit of background for those that don't know about it before
sure
going for the meat.
Yeah, that's right. But it's quite modular. It's very procedural. There are a number of campaigns in it. The first one, I think there's like probably about 10 different campaigns. Some of them are quite well scripted, I understand. I've only played through the first one. I'm actually going to maybe start one of the others tonight. But there's some that are very tightly authored, and there's some that are very much more procedural and much more suitable for multiplayer. And you can play this with up to 2 or 3 people, I think, controlling one or more character.
Oh no, that's a bit different. No, that's a bit more interesting in a way. As a little social thing, I just got a bit bored doing it on my own because there were other things I could be doing. But yeah, oh god, that sounds dirty. But yeah, as a more social thing, that'd be quite interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I thought of it kind of like like a sort of fantasy XCOM with a bit more of a board game aesthetic, perhaps.
That's a really good way to describe it overall, actually. Yeah, it's XCOM meets a bit of Dungeons and Dragons-y, or maybe something a bit less complex than Dungeons. It's XCOM meets Hero Quest.
Yeah. The other thing that's quite fun about it is that your characters, there'll be decision points, and your character will could end up with some sort of permanent scar. I think we ended up with John Marsden in our party, and he was fiddling around with this crystal, and he ended up with these big sort of fucking rocks for hands, which gave him a really good bonus for attacking. But some other horrible
slowed him down horribly, if I suspect. Yeah, and then you'll have offspring in the game as well that you can. And some characters after the campaign, you can then promote them to a legacy character, and then there are legacy campaigns that I guess are higher level that you can you can use your promoted characters in. The other thing I wanted to mention was the magic system, which is pretty cool because it all revolves around infusing objects with magic, and then those objects will have different abilities. So you might cast on a plant, and it will do a sort of binding. Yeah, it'll reach out and grab enemies.
Yes. Yeah, stuff like that. Or you can do a rock one, and it will ricochet to another enemy. But also there were several moments where I think you get one strike. Each character gets one strike where they can live to fight another day, but then they're out of it. But then the next time they get downed, it's they get to do a sort of choke on it kind of heroic death, and even take down a boss at the same time. But then they're out of it,
Yeah,
and then you get to choose whether just burn their body or erect a memorial to them or something. Obviously, spending money that you could spend on weapons and armour and things. So, I just thought it quite jolly actually, and I can totally. I am a bit of a board gamer, so I like those sort of experiences. I'm very keen to give it a go in multiplayer.
I think multiplayer I'd actually be up for. I just on my own bit dull.
Yeah, it's also fun. Not a very demanding game. You don't need a $2,000 PC to run it. I think it works fine on a laptop with no graphics.
I suspect it might be tolerable on the Amiga 500 emulator.
Maybe that's true. The only other thing on the list here is Chivalry 2. Don't know if you wanted to talk about that.
I played it. I hit people with swords. It's better than when it was released, but it's still just hitting people with sword simulator. Kind of
bonkers.
Fun. Dipping in and out. I'm going to give it a few more months, and I reckon it'll be better.
Cool. Okay then.
So to summarise it, I think it's
I've seen some wicked clips.
That's the game, isn't it?
Yeah, it totally is. I mean, you basically you get 4 classes. You can be an archer or a longswordsman or a sword and shield guy or a peasant with a pike, and you just run into people and try and kill them. You're either part of a team or it's a one-on-one melee. Yeah. You can pick up a roast chicken and try and throw it at people to kill them. It's silliness.
I've dipped in and out a couple of videos, and I saw someone fighting with one of those big medieval candelabra, the ground ones.
Yeah.
So it had all the candles on it, and he was using that as a weapon, twatting people with it on a battlefield.
Yeah, I mean, it's silly and it's fun, and I own it now, but it clearly was released at a point that in the olden days would have been viewed as early access.
Yeah.
And I get it, it's a small software house and they have to do this sort of thing, and God, if it was a big publisher, it would be despicable. But I reckon coming back to it in about 6 months' time, which is my plan, I'll chat about it early next year, I think, when I do it again.
I think that might be recommendable to run in and just have a muck around with, a dip in, dip out.
Oh, that's exactly that. It's an occasional multiplayer, melee, stupid match. I'm
Plus,
up
I
for
literally
it.
saw a
It's
Shovel
fun.
Knight in there once.
I did. I picked up a couple of games in the Steam sale. Well, I picked up one game in the Steam sale, The Room VR. I have not played it yet, though. But have you played any of the Room games?
Nope.
No.
I used to play them on my phone on the train. They're a bit like Myst, but very creepy visuals, but with like very cleverly thought out puzzles.
No.
With devices that you have to manipulate and stuff. But anyway, I've got that in VR now, so but I refuse to play any more VR while the temperature's like it is. It's just not feasible.
Okay,
Just
that
steam up.
seems basically it's a winter thing.
Yeah, well, even if I leave the doors open and everything,
Get
and the
yourself an
fan
air
going,
conditioning unit to be able to play VR in your flat, rather than
No, I'm
go
fine,
outside and
I'll
enjoy
just-
the sunshine.
I think I'll just not play VR. I'm fine with just not playing VR.
Also an option.
Yeah, we've got Deathloop coming up in a few weeks' time.
I'm still expecting Microsoft to leave it right till the last minute and go, oh yeah, that's coming to Game Pass. Fuck you all. Game Pass PC. It's a console exclusive. I know Steam have got it, but it's also available through the Bethesda launcher. Now, Bethesda are obviously owned by Microsoft, and I'm fascinated to understand if there's anything legally stopping Microsoft turning around right at the last minute going, oh, by the way, haha, free here, which is why I'm not pre-ordering that bitch.
Yeah.
No, I'm not either. But I'm just interested to find out whether it'll be whether it'll be a better time loop game than Forgotten City. Because to be honest, I haven't really given that enough credit because it's such a confusing game to try and explain without doing spoilers. Because it is literally all plot.
So here's an interesting one for you, Rob. So Deathloop, you've got a nice gaming PC and you've got the Microsoft Game Pass. But you've also got a PlayStation 5 now. This is a PlayStation 5 console exclusive. If it doesn't come out on Game Pass, are you going to buy it? And if you do buy
probably.
it, are you going to buy it on PC, which has great specs, your PC, or are you going to buy it on PS5?
Well, it really comes down to
What's cheaper?
how I want to play it, really, because although I have got very much used to playing first-person stuff on controller, I really don't know, honestly, because I haven't played a first-person shooter in ages.
Mouse and keyboard for the win to me.
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately, that PC is more powerful, so in theory, it should look better on that, shouldn't it?
Yep.
And it will be cheaper.
But if you were to wait a year, it would be free.
Yeah, but then what the fuck am I going to talk about on the next podcast?
I don't know. How
you're
much
waiting.
you stroke your beard?
He was stroking his beard there. As
I could
audio
talk about
description.
Watch
Quite
Dogs
heavily.
Legion that I still haven't played that is next on
You
my
can play
list.
Watch Dogs
probably after
Legion,
that.
yeah.
Or Wolfenstein 2.
Far
These
Cry.
games are-
Heaven forfend, you could play a Far Cry.
I've got Far Cry 5. I picked that up in a Steam sale.
Oh, I'll give it a go. Who could say? There could be all sorts of stuff. Let's
Maybe I'll
find
finish
out.
Assassin's Creed.
I doubt it.
I was hoping to finish that before I played anything else on PS5, to be honest.
Well, if
Oh, I
you'd
bought-
had some self-discipline, you would have done.
Yeah, that's it. Work did send me a code for the Olympics game. I haven't played that yet. And I did pick up a second controller. I got the black one. Just because I thought for FIFA or anything else I've got. Because I thought I did have a couple of... I have got a few couch co-op games now for the PS5.
Have you played any couch co-op with anyone on your PS5 yet?
Nope.
Welcome to my world. I owned 3 controllers for my PS4 at one point, and I don't think I ever used 2 of them at a time. No, actually, I
It's
did get
just
the
there
missus to
for-
play some games, but yeah.
It's just there for if the occasion arises. I'll be like, oh, we can play some Virtual Fighter or FIFA.
Yeah. To be fair,
Olympics.
Will, it's a bit more of a trek to head up to yours to play a bit of couch co-op.
This day and age, yeah. I
did
get the missus to play some games with me at one point. Trying is a winner for a simple couples game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I played the first one on my own, though. Back for Blood, there's been a beta for that. I don't know what the general consensus was on that. I don't know if you heard anything.
No, I haven't yet.
I heard it was a little bit too... this is listening to a different podcast. Might as well just listen to that one yourselves, you lazy listening fuckers. But my hearing was that it was kind of fun, but a little bit too simple.
Okay. What, killing zombies?
Yeah, just not quite enough challenge. The levels themselves are fairly short, but no, I can't comment. I'd rather play this sort of stuff on a multiplayer setup. But we'll see.
I think that's coming to Game Pass, so I'll pick that up then.
Yeah,
I'm up for that shit. Yep.
The problem with that is that you'll that often spurs them to make the game bastard hard, where you die within 2 minutes because you get, you're not sure what to do and then you're killed by a horde.
Yeah, but I think if you've got a difficulty setting's not too bad, but my understanding is there's no difficulty setting. If you're all in it and playing it on hard, that's one thing. If you're all in it and playing it on easy, that's another, right?
Mm.
Well, it's the AI director, isn't it, that they had in Left 4 Dead. So that probably needs a bit of a tweak. And also they've added this card system as well. So
if it's a beta, it's early days, right? So, yeah.
Exactly. It's not due out until October. So
fine. If all the feedback is it's too easy, it'll be a damn sight harder down the line.
Let's hope. All right, I've run out of things to say now.
Oh, I ran out about half an hour ago.
Okay. All right, well, we'll call it there then. Thanks for listening to the Not Playing Podcast, part of the Not Listening Podcast Network, where you can also find the Not Watching Podcast, where me and Marcus talk about movies and TV, and the Not Listening Podcast, where you can hear Adam, Ash and Will talk about all kinds of nonsensical nonsense. You can email us at notplayingpodcast@gmail.com, or you can tweet out or follow us on Twitter at notplayingpod. You can find the show notes for all our shows at notlistening.co.uk, and if you like what you've heard there, please do leave us a review. Anyway, that's all for now. Until next time, stay safe out there.
To agree 'cause I suck.